hello, everyone. Welcome to Rodney Veal's Inspired By. I'm the host, Rodney Veal. And today I get to have a conversation with someone I'm just becoming familiar with, but I kind of knew about once I started to dive in and to do the discovery, which is typical of me and the arts. And this is someone, and I'm really have become a late in life fan of opera. So I'm really super excited to have this conversation. So, Babatunde Akinboboye.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, you don't understand. Sometimes I get like totally massacred for going on people's names. Babatunde is a phenomenal opera singer, but someone who is beyond just an opera singer. He's like transversing worlds and bringing hip hop into this sort of intersection with classical music in such a novel, not just a novel way, but an interesting way to allow us to rethink our relationship to both genres of music and realize that, it's not a bad thing to cross streams. So, Tunde, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm honored.
The honor's all ours. One of the things is, this show is about the inspiration and getting inspired. And I was reading about your life story, and I just want to. I always do the hot tub time machine back to the beginning, because it really is the moment when you feel something. And I have to say, like I said, I'm a late life lover of opera, starting to dive in and started to investigate it. Always been a fan of hip hop, but I'm older than hip hop. At my age, the gray hair says it all. Is that what sparked this love of that particular art form? Because that is a very specific way of singing.
It is. It's kind of an interesting story. I think my introduction to hip hop was in the mid '90s. I was growing up in Nigeria, and my uncle brought me my first CD. It was Dr. Dre's The Chronic.
Oh, you started with the good stuff.
Yeah. That's where I jumped in the game. And I was hooked on hip hop. I didn't even really care about R&B. When the radio stations were playing both, as soon as it went to an R&B thing, I switched over. It was just hip hop. And so when I was in high school, I came back to the States when I was about 16. And in high school, one of my friends talked me into joining this class with him that was an easy A, and all my other guy friends was in it. And I asked him, what is men's ensemble? And he's like, don't worry about it. It's an easy A, and all the other guys are in it. So I showed up, and it was a choir class. And I had no relationship with classical music at all. At that point in my life, I didn't know that classical singing was taking place in the US at all. I thought it was just in churches in Europe, maybe still going on today.
Right. If you have no introduction, oh my God.
And so
I love the easy A part. I totally understand.
Yeah, that was all it took. And so I showed up there, and we had our first exercise singing harmony, ba, 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 everyone singing at the same time, and it blew my mind, and I was hooked on classical music, and I wanted to, and then I just became very, very interested in it, and I kept singing in choir. And one day, I was taking a voice lesson because I wanted to be a professional choir singer. I was taking a voice lesson, and this voice teacher said, have you ever thought of singing opera? And I was like, do I look like I've ever thought of singing opera? Like, why would you ask me that? Like, what? And he says, well, no, I think you have the voice for it. He's like, okay, sing la. And I said, la. He says, okay, let's try some different technical things, like lower your larynx, raise your pharynx, support from here. Okay, try it again. La. And I was like, okay, there might be something to this. Let's see where this goes. And I just kept following the path.
Oh my God! I mean, that's so crazy. I love. The reason why I asked that question, because a dear friend of ours, and to the podcast and to the art show, Kathleen Clausen, who is the director of opera for Dayton Opera, which is part of the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance, got me hooked on opera because I thought about that because of the genre. The opera was based on Charlie Bird. And it was like, oh,
that's a new one. Was that written? What was it called?
Oh, I want to say Bird. I really want to say it
I,
was.
I feel like that was the name of it. I remember. Was that written by oh come on,
Oh,
Anthony
it's
Davis?
yes. There you go. There you go. There you go. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah,
See, so I knew that. I see. I always know about these. Like I said, it's like he's a friend of the show, and she got me hooked. She come to a dress rehearsal, and that just started it. I'm like, I always resisted it, and I was like, oh, you got me. You pulled me in. So,
yeah.
so
I
my,
love it.
I was like, Kathleen. I mean, so that I mean that. I mean, it was really funny. Like, don't you find it surprising when somebody sees something in you that you don't see?
That's always very uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but
Because then I think, what else can you see that I can't see?
that that is the true nature of this beast of the arts. I tell you,
Yeah.
that people see it. And so once you got hooked, I mean, then you're like, okay, I'm off to the races. There's something to it. I mean, what was the next step in the training for you? I mean, I just feel like because like
Well,
opera training is like I said, it's not one of these. I mean, yeah, some people could go sing pop music and they could do just
right,
go
right.
into
But
and start.
you're not gonna watch a few YouTube videos and become an opera singer. You're right. The so okay, so I had this conversation. I started singing the thing, and it was
Yeah,
really, really okay. I was having fun with it. It felt like a new toy, especially as someone who's been singing in choir for a few years at that point. And so he convinced me to compete in a local opera competition. And I was
okay.
like, okay. So he gave me. I said I had to. I went to the bulletin board, grabbed a flyer, and it said I had to learn an area, and asked him what that's called and what an area is, and he said that word is pronounced aria, and it's a song from an opera. We're gonna find one for you, and he got me one. I did the competition and I won, and I was really excited. And after a couple more voice lessons, he said, I think you should pursue a career in opera. And I said, now you're tripping. That's a different thing. Like I'm already in my 20s when I had my first opera voice lesson. And I know that I've known enough about opera to know there's a world of opera. And so I
Yeah.
said, like, I think that's a little much for me. And he went back and forth, and he finally, opera singers are so dramatic. He closed the piano lid at the voice lesson. And
They are so dramatic, aren't they?
he says, listen, I do not tell all my students to pursue a career in opera, but every student that I have told that has followed my advice has been successful. And so I was like, all right, let's see where this goes. So he suggested that I apply at the local, the California State University of Northridge. That's where it was. It was the college nearby. They had a great opera department, so I auditioned. I remember I did an audition for the vocal performance program, which is the opera program. I
Mhm.
auditioned for like music breadth studies just to get my feet wet. But they heard my audition and moved me into the vocal performance department. And that evening after my audition, they called me and said, we'd like to offer you a role in the fall opera. And I said, okay. They said, it's the Marriage of Figaro. We want you to play the role of Bartolo. And I said, great, sure. And I hung up and I called the voice teacher who got me into this mess. And I said, hey, they want me to do an opera. They want me to play a Bartolo. What do I do? And he says, well, first you have to go buy the opera score. And I went and bought a book about this thick. Every page was sheet music. And he says, yeah, okay, that 3-hour opera in Italian, you have to have it fully memorized for the first rehearsal. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I went through it slowly over the next couple months. And I showed up the first rehearsal, had it memorized, and did the opera. And I tell everyone that the first opera I saw was from the stage while I was performing it. And I had a blast and figured like, okay, I think I might keep doing this.
This has some. This is doing something for me. It's so
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious. I'm curious about what that sensation of. I mean, you got thrown in the deep end. I
I
mean, we're talking
did, but
like the Marriage of Figaro. Come on. I mean,
oh, tell me about it. Tell me about
I
it.
mean, I mean, what was that like? What did that
It was,
feel?
well, fortunately for me, I was so excited about this new world. It felt like I don't know, it felt like going to like magic school or something. Like suddenly I was in the deep. Everyone around me was like to my ears, a professional opera singer, and everyone spoke multiple languages, and every opera song I knew, they all knew it already. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I was so enthralled about the whole process and the world. And I had a gift. I was particularly skilled pretty often. So the faculty at the school really, really liked me. And so I got leading roles in all the operas as soon as I got in there, even though there were graduate students who had probably earned the right to some of those roles. So between my excitement about this world and their excitement about me, it didn't really occur to me how far in the deep end I was. You know, I was just swimming. I didn't realize how far the bottom was.
Oh, that the bottom was, wow.
And it was I was just having a blast. And as I went on, obviously it was difficult. Like I did have a lot of catching up to do, but it was enough. There was enough fun, and I had enough tricks and skills to help supplement what I was lacking to eventually to make it through. And the faculty, I'm not gonna lie, the faculty kind of helped me. There were a few classes where it's just like, get degrees. Here you go.
Here's the struggle bus. I mean, it's just, I mean, and that's to be expected. I mean, because the thing is, out of curiosity, you're in this world, you're swimming. Did most people just start that training and that sort of swimming? At what age did they typically start? I mean, because I know from the ballet world, I'm coming from the classical ballet realm. Well, I started late, which is a whole other story. I really started late. It was like 18, and it was like, oh, so this is different. So I understand that, but because I was in a room with people who started dancing when they were 4, and I'm like,
right,
sorry, it sucks. I just came in.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. It's really similar in the opera world. There's some people who have, who started when they were 5 or 6, or some people who started maybe when they were like 12, but their family threw everything they had into it. They made it their life. They've traveled to work with all the different voice teachers and so on and so forth. So in the opera world, especially in the collegiate level at that point, by the time I got there, there were some, I didn't realize how, I didn't realize how much some people had put into it. I realized that it was a large culture, but I didn't realize some people had made this their life. Like their parents had decided before that they were going to be an opera singer. And so fortunately for me, once again, I think I was such a novelty at my school just because I was such a different personality, because I didn't know how, the opera world is much more than just singing and acting. There's a bearing, there's a way to carry yourself. I tell people all the time that a lot of opera singers never step off the stage. They are in character all the time, which is why when you see some opera singers, they speak like this and they're just all the time, regardless where they are, and that's who they are. And honestly, after a certain point, it really is who they are. And you just gotta love them as that. But I think I was such a different type of person. I was exciting enough to where the only people who were really upset were some of the other baritone grad students who probably who should have been having some of the roles that I was having. But
that's not your choice. I mean, it's like someone's. I think it's like it wasn't like you took something from them. It was that people offered the opportunity to you, and that's you can't apologize for like, well, sorry. I mean, that's not. It's like what are you going to say? I'm sorry. I'm going to say no because that person really had their dream.
Well, fortunately for me, by the time I realized how the game worked, I had already had a few roles under my belt, and I didn't know any better, and I was just used to it. And but they all came around eventually. Like I was well liked in the department.
Well, I think it comes through, and and the things that I've kind of discovered is that it comes through that it's an abused word. Authenticity is an abused word, but there's an energy that you're like, okay, this is who I am. This is life. This is it's everything. It's everything. And so therefore, I think people respond to it a little differently when you recognize it, when you as the person recognize it, and then they go, oh. they're aware that they're swimming in the deep end and swimming quite well, which I have to say, because it's not an easy genre. I can't even imagine. I mean, classical ballet was a completely okay. Let's learn everything in French. Let's learn. Let's, like you said, there's a certain bearing that dancers have.
Yes. Yeah. You
It's a
can spot
culture.
them.
The culture.
Anywhere.
The culture's real, very real, and you just kind of sense it and you feel it. And so now, like, I mean, what happens like once you're at the collegiate level and you've had these experiences? I mean, because I, like I said, my experience was starting late, and then it just dove right into professional development training and just being in a company and just going. What happens when, because opera is different. I mean, you know, how do you, like, what's the first step after the training part? How do you get into that lane of, like, you're like, now you're traveling, now you're doing, and
Well,
different stages?
for it, honestly, there are a lot of different paths that happen. There's some, I mean, there's some that are well worn, but well, how it worked out for me is by the time I had graduated, there was already some buzz about me in the Los Angeles area where I went to college. And so there were local companies that were eager to hire me when I finished. And so I did those companies while auditioning for other places. And then I was getting emails, you know, asking me, hey, next year we're doing Rigoletto in San Jose, or we're doing, I don't know, American Soldier in St. Louis. And so I'm flying to these different places, and each gig is leading to other gigs, and it was getting better and better. And I just kept on singing.
I love it. I mean, and so these travels, which I love about, I don't think a lot of people know that LA has a really robust classical music and classical opera scene. I think people have a tendency to believe that, you know, West Coast is, I'm like, folks, no. It's kind of like the Midwest, like folks. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It is everywhere. Yeah, we have large opera house, the Los Angeles Opera is one of the larger opera houses in the country, and the LA Philharmonic, I think, is they're the orchestra with the largest budget, if not in the world. I think they're a massive orchestra, and they have the Hollywood Bowl right there too. So there's some real classical music and opera going on in Los Angeles and Southern California.
So it's like
Northern California too.
In Northern California. So you got the foundation for it. So now you're cooking. Now you're in this world. You're performing. St. Louis, which is one of my favorite cities. I just know, and I always talk about the Midwest as being, you know, especially here in Dayton, Cincinnati, because we are close to Cincinnati. The station is both. It's Think TV and CET. PBS, Land of Public Broadcasting. We support classical art and all art, which is, I'm lucky in that regard to do that. So my curiosity is, because did you just abandon? I mean, you don't abandon hip hop. Hip hop, once it's in your blood, it just kind of stays. So you were like, that's your jam. You're listening to it. You're in the wet world. There's two different worlds, but they both kind of act the same way, actually. I think there's a through line.
There is a through line. So for me, it kind of grew together. Here's the story. So let's go back a little bit.
Okay, totally. I'm in.
I auditioned for the department. They let me in. I get a call that night. They asked me to do The Marriage of Figaro, play the role of Bartolo. I'm learning this 3-hour opera, and I get stuck at this one part. I'm trying to learn this part, and Bartolo has this section. He's an older character, so they give him patter to sing, which is when he has to sing a bunch of words very quickly. The idea in opera is that he's supposed to be like a mumbling, grumbling old man, like, leave me alone. I can do it on my own. I will catch you, you know, kind of thing. But in opera, it sounds like, and it goes on and on like that. So I'm trying to learn this part. I'm kind of struggling to like memorize it and get it in my bones. And I've always loved hip hop. It was still like my first love of music. So when I'm like listening to music casually, it was still hip hop. And so I'm working on this song, and there's hip hop playing in the background. So I'm just kind of like start singing it to the beat of it. So I'm like, and I kind of do it for a while. And I realized at a certain point that I've had it memorized. I've been singing it from memory for a little while, and I didn't realize that. And at that point, I kind of decided that I started using hip hop to supplement what I was lacking in my musical training. And so whether it was a rhythmical thing, a note thing where I'm trying to hear a certain interval between these two chords, and I realized like, oh, that's the same intro for that Pharoah Monch song. That's the same interval. Okay, got that. And so like hip hop had always stayed present in my opera training. When I'm trying to like get certain rhythms, like learn certain, I would kind of set it to a beat. And then like I learned how to like, make opera, like I use the hip hop as like a skeletal frame, and once it was standing upright, I could take it out and like let it stand on its own. But I had always kept a close relationship with hip hop while going through my opera training. After every rehearsal, I'm back in the car listening to hip hop, and so while as a professional, and because I came to opera so late in life, I didn't quite deify opera the way a lot of my partners or colleagues had. It was like I could still see it as just music. It's notes and rhythms, just like every other form of music. And you could play with that. And so I always did on my own in the car. Like I would get out of rehearsal and sing some opera thing to the beat of a hip hop song. And I've always liked the marriage of the two, but I wouldn't ever really share with my colleagues because opera people can be
very
traditional.
That was diplomatic, man. That was good. I've
been in this world a while.
Yes, I understand.
So I wouldn't really share it. It was a thing I kind of kept to myself. And then one day, I was out of rehearsal and I was singing Figaro, Figaro, Largo al factotum in my car, and the Kendrick Lamar and the song Humble by Kendrick Lamar was playing. And I kind of kept singing the Figaro song over the beat to that. And it lined up really well where I was like, I'm going to record this. So I put my phone up on my dashboard while I was driving and I recorded me singing it to the beat of the song. And I went and posted it on Facebook. I posted it on my personal Facebook, not my professional Facebook, because I didn't want my colleagues to see it. So I posted it on my personal one because I thought, just my friends would see it and no one else. I posted it, went to sleep, woke up the next morning. Everyone had seen it. It went very, very viral. I got a call from Ellen from Time Magazine, wanted to interview me. America's Got Talent. And my social media had blown up. They were like, this is the greatest thing I've seen. We want you to do more, do another one. And I'm thinking like, I've been doing this in my car for years. Sure, I'll do another one. I did another one. They're like, this is great. I'd buy an album of this. And I was like, really? And so I immediately started to crowdfund a little 3-track EP. And I got help with someone who helped me make hip hop opera 3-track EP. And I put it out. People loved it. I got a few calls to come perform live. And I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to perform this on stage like it's regular music instead of something I've just been doing messing around in my car. And I did that performance. It led to another one, and then another large venue. And I got a call from the City Winery, and then another one. And I went on a tour, and fans showed up, and I was selling out shows, and I became the hip opera guy. And I still do traditional operas, but I've started having so much fun with this that and I think it's this has kind of become where I've focused my energy now. I'm the hip opera guy now.
I'm Bonnie Miles, membership coordinator of CET. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veal's Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and Think TV, 2 local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org.
If you're enjoying this conversation, the art show, also hosted by Rodney Veal, is available to stream anytime from anywhere on YouTube or the PBS app.
I love the fact that it's like, you just did something that you enjoy doing in a car. I mean, that just, and then it's like, okay, next morning it's like, okay, people, the world just said, what is this? And so what do you think it is, out of curiosity, what do you think is driving this curiosity? Because I think, like you said, opera is I felt like I said, I've fallen in love with it. I feel it is, you get the right singer in the right role. There's some juiciness. I'm attracted to the notion of the high drama of opera. But it's also beautiful. It's stunningly beautiful, and I can sense things within the structure and the rhythm. I think, and I'm dancing along with it. So in my head, I'm moving. So it's kind of naturally fits.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of curious, like what have what's the response been about the blend? Because I think, like you said, there's camps. There's these purist camps. There's even purist camps in the hip hop world.
Right. It's been very, very surprising in the sense how positive it's been. I get a lot of, fortunately, because of social media, I get direct feedback from the people seeing it, and they don't care what you think. And so fortunately, so I can trust it to some extent. And I get the 3 comments I get a lot that I really like is, I don't like hip hop, but I like this stuff. Or I don't like opera, but I like this stuff. And the occasional, I don't like opera or hip hop, but I like this stuff. Every time at my live concerts, I frequently get someone who's a fan of mine who drags someone along with them to see the show. And at the end of the show, the person they dragged is a bigger fan than the person who brought them. And then they show up for the next show with like 3 of their own friends now. And it keeps happening. I think it's 2 things. In the simplest form, I think it's just the simple idea of a beat that moves the body and singing that like thrills the soul. I think it's just like that kind of singing in its simplest form. If I want to get a little deeper, and I get in this argument with some of my colleagues sometimes because they talk about being traditional and so on and so forth. And I say, the reason why I feel like what I'm doing is traditional is because opera has had a long history of evolving in relationship with the popular music of the time, which is why when opera started in the Baroque period, it sounded completely different by the time Mozart came around. And by the time, Gershwin came around, it sounded completely different. Absolutely. Because for hundreds of years, it's evolved in relationship with what was popular, what was going on like outside of the church. They brought it into the music from the streets. They brought it into the opera, and it thrilled people. It's part of the reason people still sing those melodies from Carmen today, because they're folk melodies. They're just like what people liked, what people were whistling out about in the streets. And so I think I'm just continuing that tradition of incorporating the popular music of the time into opera. And something about the magic of what has made opera such a behemoth of an art form, still, I think just staying true to that is what is moving people, just like it's moved people before. And it's really, really exciting to see people at these shows listening to these opera. It's a lot of what I do is very traditional compositions and the singing style. I only know one way to sing like a traditional opera singer, and so that's what they're hearing. And so, yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing that they're finding a way to enjoy these art forms in a way that feels familiar and comfortable for them.
Oh, I think that's the reason why I love this whole notion of the crossing the streams, because I think a lot of times, and not just in opera. I mean, I see it in the other art forms in the world, and I'm going to jump on my soapbox for a second about it's like these are living, breathing art forms.
Right.
They're supposed to evolve. They're supposed to connect and engage to the times that we live in. And I go, folks, I would love for it to be set in amber, but it can't be. It cannot be. To be interesting, it just cannot be in this day and age. And so so we're in a world filled with a lot of noise. I mean, like you said, in your instance, social media worked wonders because it brought a new concept and a new idea about the merging of streams. But then but then also too, it also brings a flood of stuff at people. I mean, as somebody who's working in the media space, it just now becomes, it's now more than ever that people are responding to authenticity and wanting to hear. You can't fake your voice. There's no AI try. There ain't no. I want to tell people, stop trying to do AI. No, no, no. That voice is rich. That baritone is there. It hits you right here in the solar plexus, and I'm going, oh yeah, look at him go. And you do it with such confidence and like this joy. I mean, you're like, that sound feels, I know what it feels. I know what it felt like to dance. Like it felt good in the body. Does it still, is that the same thing? Like feels good in the body?
It feels wonderful. I feel like I'm getting away with something and I'm worried I'm going to get caught one day. I cannot be having this much fun. It feels illegal to be getting paid having this much fun because I love singing opera. I also love hip hop. So getting to do both of them, and so the authenticity you're seeing is real because like I didn't seek out to become like super famous. I knew I wanted to become a big opera singer, but the biggest opera singer I could think of all time was like Pavarotti, as far as fame goes, and he was only like kind of famous. So I wasn't thinking of like. He wasn't like popular famous, like, I mean, he was, never mind. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I totally get it. No. It's different. It's a different level of fame.
I wanted to be successful, but I wasn't looking to be famous. So when the social media thing happened and I'm suddenly have millions of followers, I got a little terrified because, well, to be honest, I think just operating in the opera world, I become very much a people pleaser and become very much, especially being a Black person in the opera world, trying to fit into the most comfortable version of what they expect me to be in order to where I can feel comfortable and they can feel safe and comfortable as well. And so now I have millions of followers and I'm like, who am I supposed to be to all of these people? And there was no way I could stay consistent to all of them except for just being who I actually am. So I just let go and I was just like, hey guys, this is me. And I just stay the same all the way. And I found it's very, very liberating. And it's very liberating. It's very easy to stay consistent. And people still it's not just people still like it. I think initially that was the first part, like, okay, people are still hanging around. But I found that authenticity it's necessary in order to attract your people, like in order to attract, because I know that what I do in my music is not for everyone. There are the people who want to encase opera in amber, and I get it. They love it. They grew up loving it, and they're worried that something bad will happen to it if it's not protected. And I get it's a protective thing, but it's like, it's like an overprotective mother. It's like, let him go out and play. Let him meet new friends. He will grow up and be different from you, but he's supposed to. That's how, Right. And so I get it. So I know that it's not for everyone. So in order to attract the people I am for, I've learned I just have to lean into who I am. And I say this all the time that I found that authenticity is very polarizing. Like the more you lean into it, you're going to repel those aren't for you, and you're going just as equally you're going to attract the people who are for you. And I heard someone say this once, that if you're liked by everyone, then you'll be loved by no one. Like you have to really like allow yourself to disappoint people, let people down, because they need to go where they're supposed to be, and those who you're for need to see you. So they can know that, hey, you're my people.
I love that. I love that train of thought, because and I think that's really true of everyone that I've had on this podcast. I think we're up to 56 episodes now, and it's like, because this was an offshoot of doing the art show, which is it's a weekly series in art and culture. I did not pursue this. This was one of those situations where someone said, hey, you should audition for this. And I did. And now I'm doing this. I'm like, 12 years later, I'm like, oh, okay. I was content to stay in the lane of teaching and choreographing and making my art and be fine. I'm like, this is good. This is that comfort, the difference between success and fame. Like what you described. the success is on different terms. And so one of the things I'm really curious about, and it's one of the questions that we ask a lot of our guests on the show, and I think this is be an interesting perspective in your take, because you, like you said, you're crossing streams, is this notion that, are you being an imposter? Do you ever have that sense of imposterdom in one or both worlds, because you've merged two worlds? Because you know what I'm saying, like, people think, it's like, does that ever cross your mind? I mean, that phrase.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Okay.
I feel very, because I came up through the opera world traditionally. You know, there are not a lot of professional opera singers that don't know who I don't know, haven't heard my name before, because I've just been in that world for a while. And my name is Babatunde. It's not common in the opera world, but,
hey, you know, we do it. You know,
all that to say, I've earned my stripes. You know, I put in the work. I've been in the trenches with the other opera singers. So especially when talking to someone who's not a professional in this field, I found very often that I've forgotten more than they'll ever learn about opera. I've years of study, like the history and the practice and the conversation and the culture and the just so much of it is like, so it's going to be hard to make me feel like I'm an imposter in the opera world. I mean, every once in a while, I'll do a traditional opera gig where I get the sense that because I've become so famous on social media, typically in the opera world, when you're famous, it's because you're this amazing singer. I'm nice. I'm a pretty good singer, but I'm not like, for as famous as I am, it doesn't like equate to the way it has looked for like quality of singing. So that being said, I show up at some gigs and sometimes I sing and they're like, oh, he's just really good. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm famous for other things, but and so that's the closest I come to feeling like an imposter, but it's not. Like, I know who I am and what I bring to the table, and I love it. And I know it's still valued and desired. So, and I know it's good work. And so with the hip hop thing, I mean because I've been such a heavy hip hop head and hip hop fan, like I'll go up against anyone in hip hop trivia. It's been so much. And because I got into hip hop, you know, right around the end of NWA, when hip hop was like really,
there was a shift
into the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I've been in the game since then. And my mom and dad were big hip hop fans as well. So I got a little bit of the history beforehand, and I got to grow up with hip hop. And it was the only music I listened to before I came into classical music. So like I say, I missed the whole Jodeci train. There's a lot of the.
You missed all those R&B. Yeah,
I missed it all. I only cared about hip hop. And so at this point, you know, it's funny. After I went viral, I was talking with another crossover artist, and he was asking. We had a great meeting, a lunch meeting, and then he was leaving, and he says, "Wait, one question. Do you know how to rap?" And I was like, "Oh, I've never rapped before. I don't know how to rap." He's like, "Yeah, you do." And then he left. And then a few weeks later, there was this video online where this guy had this rap challenge where he does one verse and he leaves it open and you make up another verse. And I was like, oh, I'll give this a shot. And I was like, and I sat there, and in like 5 minutes, I had written this amazing verse. And I was like, damn it, I can rap. Okay. And I guess like when you've memorized hip hop albums for years and like,
it just kind of seeps into you. You just kind of know. You kind of understand it. Yeah.
Right. And then I started like freestyling and writing raps and posting them, and they were going viral. And I was like, oh, I guess I can rap too. Okay, cool. And so it's really one thing I'm really loving right now in this space is I say often the way we practice opera right now, there's not a lot of space for us as artists to create. There's a lot of heavy emphasis on recreation, on doing it the correct way. And if someone hadn't done, and the closer you are to what someone had done before, the more correct it is in a lot of spaces. And so I'm having a space where I feel like like a bird or some animal bred in captivity, like out in the wild. And I'm like an eagle that's been in a cage, and I have these wings. I have to figure out how to use them now, because I very much am an artist. And I've only been I've only been allowed to do so much creation in the opera world without getting in some kind of trouble. And so now in this space, I get to flap my wings. And
And kind
so,
of push out and expand and kind of
and I'm very, well, I don't care how this sounds, but I'm loving discovering the kind of animal I am. I'm very much loving the kind of art I'm making and the kind and what I'm capable of. It's I get surprises along with everyone else. So yeah, I'm having a blast.
oh, it's just that's refreshing because I just feel like every person I ever talked to that's they're in it for the process of discovery. And it's like, and I just go, yes, yes. And I don't think people understand. It's like, I don't know about how you feel, but performing is just second nature. It's like it becomes, the work that needs to go into being on stage and performing. So, but the process of discovery, oh, okay, if I do this and that, and then talking to the other person, and we're like, making eye contact and going, "This is going to work." You're like, "What if?" And that place for me was the more exciting to the point where we're like, "Okay, the curtain's going up in a day."
Right, exactly.
Whatever. I mean, it's just, yeah, because
it all.
yeah, when you've done it all, and so that's what I love about the fact that I was going through I was looking at the videos and I was like reading all the things in social media. It just seems to me that the audience, and I'm kind of curious, what kind of audiences are you playing to? Mainly adults? Or are you taking this to young people? I'm out of curiosity because I'm like,
well, no. It's a good question because when I first started making this, I think as soon as you do a thing where classical music is like accessible, people assume it's for children, and I was like, no,
yes,
no,
yeah.
please, because like I'm not, generally speaking, I was gonna say I'm not kid friendly, but I generally operate in a not safe for work way of being, and so I, once again, with being authentic, I didn't want to be out and about in public. Someone sees me smoking a blunt and they have their kids and they're like, "Oh, Babatunde is like," it's like, hey, listen, like the opera and the hip hop, all of that, like it's all real in me. And so I found that I just have to stay consistently me and it balanced out. So what has been great is like similar to like a hip hop artist, most of my fans are adults. There are some kids and the parents know, like, I'm not really cursing in my music yet. But with my social media presence and the way I operate there, it's like, okay, he's an adult. He's making this music that is interesting and accessible, and kids are loving it because I have gone to speak and perform at a number of schools from elementary, high school, all the way to Juilliard. And it's been, the reception's been great. It's been good because it's terrifying performing a new kind of music in front of kids, high school kids and elementary kids, because they don't lie. They don't politely applaud for anything.
They are a tough crowd,
right? And
even to teach, trust me, even to teach.
So I show up during their assembly time, their free time. They're not in class. They're all this energy bouncing off the wall. There's no structure, and I'm supposed to. But fortunately, as soon as I start going, it was at one elementary school we had a mosh pit. The parents had the teachers had to come in and break it up because they were having so much fun during the music. They were just having they completely lock in. It's been great. It's been really, really exciting.
I love that. I love the fact that it's not about, because like adults need education. I think that's the reason why I enjoy this podcast, because I'm like, people don't always get to know the person behind what they're hearing or experiencing or seeing. And it's like, they go, "Oh," I said, "Yeah, we are human beings." I'm like, I just want to demystify it. It's like, we have our passions, we have our loves, and the fact that you were able to marry your two passions and love into this place right now. What do you, I'm kind of curious, where do you see it going? Because it's for you. Not about us, because yeah, whatever. But you, like, it's for you. What do you see it going for yourself?
One of the things I've found that I'm enjoying the most about what I'm doing is I think the demystifying, as you said, because I came in to opera so late in the game, it never was mystified for me. It just was like, oh, I never had that thing for it. So in the way I operate with it, I think I've just given a lot of people permission to engage with it in a way that feels authentic for them. And after my concerts, one of the things that happens frequently is someone says, like, I used to play viola. My viola has been in the attic for 15 years, but I'm going to go take it out and go play it again, because I think people like that permission to, oh, I don't have to do it right. I can do it the way I want to. And so I found that I want to keep doing that. I want to keep demystifying this art form and reintroducing it to people. And so in a sense where, I think that's part of how my social media platform has grown, because I talk about, I'll tell people that if you think classical music is boring, that's because it is. It was really popular in the 1700s. Now, there's some of it that is still popular now, but if you think it's not interesting, it's not because you're an uncultured swine. It's just it doesn't hit the same as it did before. Opera, you watch a live opera, for a lot of people back in the day in the 1700s, they're on the edge of their seat from top to bottom. Today, that opera singing, it's really cool for the first 5 minutes, but I just saw a guy do a backflip off a dirt bike 2 minutes ago on my phone. Like, you're gonna have to step it up.
You really, I love it. You said that they're doing a backflip up. And it's true. The stepping up part. It's like, because I think the audiences because it's not a part of everyone's kind of world, and I think that's the reason why I'm always curious about when people say I don't like a particular genre of music, and I saw it myself, because I was like, I'm not a fan of opera, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, wait a minute. So you can take this art form and speak to a jazz great and talk about a life, an introspective life as an adult. I'm like, okay, that blew my mind. So then it got me in. So I'm like, okay,
yeah,
all right. So now I'm at Cincinnati Opera every summer, going to see all these operas, and also Dayton Opera. I'm like, okay.
Opera really just started off as storytelling, and the venues got bigger, and they tried to figure out ways for people to hear it, so they started singing it. But it's really just great stories.
Yeah, they are really great stories. And I always tell people, like, hold your horses. This is like the best soap opera ever. It's like, these are this is drama. It is. These are universal stories. And it is storytelling. And I think that getting people to kind of understand it, I think hip hop is storytelling as well. It's I'm like, folks, it's not just the beat. It's like, come on, listen to those lyrics. Listen to how that cadence goes. I tell people all the time, analyze it, and you like dig a little deeper.
The overlap between opera and hip hop, and I love that I was introduced to classical music as a hip hop head, because I learned classical music through a lens of hip hop. So it made it very easy to see a lot of relationships. Just like, the hip hop artists, they have operatic lifestyles and like personalities. It's just part of who they are. It's like, I feel like like the only stages big enough for those kind of personalities are opera stages. Like, it makes sense for them to for a guy to show up in a club with 30 people with him in an opera. It's like it just lines up. There's so much that just
the alignment is there. It really is.
Telling stories. Don't get me started. But
go for it. This is the ball. This is what this forum is.
With the focus on storytelling and the relationship between the music and just certain characters, certain like composers that have almost like reincarnated themselves as like hip hop artists and have like the same personalities and same like reputation, same traits, and it's beautiful to watch it over and over, the same stories. And I think, and going back a little bit, I think that's a wonderful thing about opera, because it's storytelling. Everyone has a story. You tell someone's story, they're going to come listen to it. what's great about opera now is with the world opening up and becoming more, as the internet and so on and so forth, as the world becomes smaller, opera is starting to tell new stories because it's telling these stories to more people, and more people want to see their stories. And I love that this evolution is starting and it's happening. It is difficult for some people, but change is always difficult for some people. And I love that someone once told me a long time that the only thing that is permanent is change. And so once you get used to that, you can.
Sky's the limit. There's so many things, and it was really funny because I was going through your not funny, but I was going through your resume, and I saw Detroit Opera, quite a few moments in Detroit Opera, and I've always been fascinated as to how Detroit Opera has become this sort of hotbed for the reinvention of the opera going experience.
I love what Detroit Opera is doing.
I'm kind of like, what's it like inside of that? Because it reads that way when I'm reading about it. I'm like, road trip. I need to make a road trip.
So I, as you would imagine, I still get offers from a lot of opera companies to perform, but I say no to a lot of them. I say yes to Detroit more than any other one, just because I very much like, so as you know, Detroit's a black city.
Oh,
and so
I went to school in Eastern Michigan University, so I know all my friends are from Detroit. So
right. And so a little while ago, they did Malcolm X, the Malcolm X opera, X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, and it was the first time Detroit Opera had sold out in a very long time. And what was beautiful is like, and I don't know why this doesn't happen more often, but they saw that and was like, oh. One, I don't know why it took them that long to figure that out, but to do a black opera in a black city, that's another conversation. But they did it and they were like, oh, maybe we should like cater to the community more. And they did in what I feel like is like the most honest way. So first of all, like having black people work in the actual office has been something that opera people have wanted for a long time, because I've been an opera singer for years, and I think it was 2 years ago was the first time I had my hair done by someone who does black hair, like a barber who knows what is going on, and my makeup and so on and so forth. A lot of us, we've had to learn to do our own makeup. And so Detroit Opera has made a real effort into developing a relationship with the community, at their open night, having local businesses be vendors in the front lobby, in the foyer of the opera house, having performers like pre-concert perform in the foyer of like gospel choirs, or like depending on, and not just the other thing is it does not feel performative, which has been my thing. I'm really like sensitive to that. And in these cases, it feels like an honest, what they'll do. They did the opera Central Park 5, and then they had people talk, and they had enough talks of education around it before the opera had, just so people are watching it and it's not just trauma porn, for lack of a better it's actually an educational experience. And I've loved that they've done that, along with still doing the traditional operas and the very, very high quality productions as well. That's the other thing. It's not like they're taking these resources and actually having all black casts tell our stories, and it's been a beautiful experience. So, and I'm loving the directions that they're going, and I think the community is too.
Oh, it's reading loud and clear in the articles, and I know that. It just I love how you said it's like, for lack of a better term, Trump, like not using the vehicle as a traumatic device or to be performative. This is really an immersion, and I think that takes and I love what you said about behind the scenes. And so, I mean, one of the things that's going to help the cause of the sustainability of not just opera but the arts in general is that though it's not just those who are in front of the spotlight, but those who operate the spotlight, those who operate because if we change that, then the conversations about content, the conversations about the kind of work that can be presented on the stage, the risk taking, because I really do feel in these really interesting times that we live, take a risk on the art form speaking, because people want that. And so I love the fact that I got a chance to talk to you, because that's what your blending of the streams has done. You've challenged us to rethink and enjoy, but most importantly, rethink just a whole lot of stuff in relationship to these two really powerful genres of music. And I just applaud you for that. So
Thank you.
So thanks for being on our show and talking about it. I'm just fascinated, and I'm hoping folks check him out. Because you've been in Cincinnati. Are you coming back? Are you coming back sometime soon?
I will be there next week.
Next week.
I'll be there for the oh come on. We Are One festival.
We Are One festival. We Are One festival.
We Are One.
Now, unfortunately, this won't air before that, but unfortunately, but that's okay. That's not the point of this. I want people to kind of know and dig a little deeper, and I'll talk you up, and I'll talk about that event as well, and another vehicle, because we're a media company. I just wanted people to know your story, because it's just fascinating. You hooked me. You got me in.
Thank you.
Way cool.